Okay, we're going to look at rigging an animated texture for the mouth. So at the moment, this guy's got a single texture on him, which is body text. There we go. And his UV layout looks like that, and so there's that. But we want to animate a mouth texture here. So we've got a couple of things to do for that. So one is retexture or relayout this bit of the faces. I'm going to do this. So this, you've got to do this before you put skin maps on and anything, skin weighting. So I'm going to get these faces here. I'm just going to hit Q, get rid of that gizmo. There you go. These guys. Right, so I'm going to reproject those. So UV, planar, make sure it's on best plane, apply, close. So now we should have a new bit there. Okay, cool. Now, you see I've got the grid already done, but I'll just show you. I've got this grid layout here. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's divided up. So to do that, you go image, do you not? You go view, grid, this one. And you've got to go grid lines every 1.25 units, subdivisions too. What that does is it gives you an 8x8 grid. And we want an 8x8 grid. So we can lay this out and add some mouth shapes to it. I'll show you where I'm going with it. So if I go to Photoshop, mouth shapes, there's my mouth shapes. And the reason we want a 4x4 grid or an 8x8 grid, 4x4 grid is this. So if you do this and you go view guides, new guide layout, you could go 4x4, make it red, that's fine. Okay, but actually if I make it 8x8, go okay, and then just go view guides, new guide layout, and then do a 4x4 one in blue. Go okay, so you can see your 4x4, but you've also got a send across. And so what I've done here to lay this out is I drew 16 different mouth shapes in different files, and I cut and pasted them onto a background using this grid. And so you can center them on each one. Then that marries up when you go back to Maya. That marries up to this grid here. And so what you can now do, now we've got this guy, I'm just going to shrink it down a little bit. I'm going to unfold. Yay! So he's now the right shape. W. Bum, bum, bum. So I know that I want this guy. I go right. So I want him in the center of that cross there. I want him lined up vertically, like that. Ooh. Something along those lines. I want him to be just inside that. In fact, I might just move him down just a fraction. There we go. So there's our guy. Right, so we're inside that. We're on the cross of that quarter. Okay, cool. So now I can go. Now we've just got red because we've got the red from the jumper. But if I go back there, go, oops, assign new material, I can go standard surface. Now, as long as the standard surface has got the same kind of roughness, 0.9, we can add in another texture. So fine. So I keep going back to this same mouth shape thing. Each time I adapt it, I just kind of go, oh right, okay, what's that? And then you go back to your thing and just kind of go, right, that's my skin shade. So I've got my skin shade directly from whatever body texture that I'm using, and then I can just use the same mouth shapes again. I've used the same mouth shapes for loads of different characters. Right, having done that, I can go back in and go mouth shapes. Boom. Now you see that's our mouth texture, and hopefully object mode. It's pretty seamless. Let's go shading, take wireframe and shade it off. And it's not too bad. Right, so now we know that in the UV editor, if we have this guy selected, well, I can select him there, it doesn't really matter. You can see that because it's the most recent one that we've done, that it's loaded up that texture, and you can see how the mouth shape is sitting in the middle of there. But we want to be able to plant any one of these images on that section. To do that, we're going to rig it. So we're going to take the head control. So this is where we finished at the end of it with the eyes on it. We're going to go edit, add attribute, and I'll call it mouth shapes. Mouth shapes. Mouth shapes, something like that. From float, which is sliding numbers, any value in between, to integer, which is whole numbers only. We're going to go minimum 1, maximum 16. There we go. Add. Close. So we've now got mouth shapes 1 to 16. Aha. So we're going to use set driven key again. What we're going to do, if I go, you can see this in the hypershade. Hang on, let's go here. Actually call this new one mouth shapes AI, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to find it. Mouth shapes AI mouth shapes. Hypershade. So we should be able to AI mouth shapes is there, and we map it. There we go. So what you get with this texture, I'm going to come in a bit bigger. There you go. And you can see there's our mouth shaped animated texture thing, which is just the image file. That's the actual shader itself. This is how the file is placed on the object, and you have an offset. So if I go a quarter, which is 0.25, you'll see the texture moves. Ha! And so, and you can come and go 0.5, and texture moves again. So what we want to do is rig the placement, this bit here, to this guy here. Mouth shapes 1. Right, so we're going to go to animation, key, set driven key, set. Right, we're going to get the head control, load driver, mouth shapes. Now we've got to go back and find that guy again. So we can get, doesn't really matter, this guy. Probably easier to go through the hypershade. There we go. Mouth shapes, map, place node. Once you've got that selected, you can go load driven, place texture 5, it says it node, offset U, offset V is what we're driving. Okay. So that's kind of cool. So now all we've got to do is say offset is 0, 0, and mouth shapes, if I get this right, mouth shapes is on 1. So we go key. There you go. Right. So we've keyed that first one. we're now going to go PlayStation mode. So we're going to go mouse shapes 2. So all you've got to do is decide on the offset here which one is the. So if we say that's the rows, so we can shift the columns. So 2 5. Mouse shapes 2. That's 2 5. Key. And you see the image has changed to this. If I go back 1 2, we've now got that. So mouse shapes 3 wants to be 0.5. Key. Mouse shapes 4 wants to be 0.75. Key. Let's test that again. So boom, boom, boom. So there's our mouse shapes we've done so far. So we've done 4. 1 2 3 4. So 5 and above doesn't do anything. So 5 will be the next row. So that will be that back to 0, and there will be this 2 5. So this will shift up the image. So that 0, that 2 5, mouse shape 5, key, mouse shape 6 will be the next one. So it'll be 2 5 2 5. There you go. That'll be key. Mouse shape 7 will be 5 2 5. Key. Mouse shape 8 will be 7 5 2 5. Key. So you can just test that again. Just make sure that it's going in the right direction. Boom, 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 boom. There you go. You've got all your different mouse shapes. So where did we get to? We got to 8, I think. 2 3 8. Yeah, so 9 doesn't do anything. So 9 is the next row. So that is 0. This is 0.5. There you go. And so key 10 is 255. Key 7 is 55. Key 12 is 755. Key. Double check that's working. Mouse shapes. Dum 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 dum. You can see now getting quite a big menu. And as I go, you can see that it moving on the sample bit in the home shape. So that was 12. So 13 becomes 7.5. This becomes 0. Key that. 14. 2575. Key 15. 575. Key and 16. 7575. So 0.75, 0.75 key. Okay, and so it's that simple. We've now got 16 different mouse shapes. So you can do this as simply as you like. You could do a 4x4 grid, which is like 0.5, 0.5. You could do a 3, which would be 3.333 recurring by 3.3, so you get 9 shapes. It doesn't really matter how you lay it out. It'll come out. But what I find is there's 7 phenomes. No, hang on. There's 7 basic emotion and so many phenomes, 9 phenomes. And 16 by 16 gives you a mouse shape and a phenome for everything. So you can make this as complicated and as easy as you want, as long as you make a grid that subdivides, and then you can just move it across on the UV offset. But you've just got to make sure that on the actual shader itself, that the kind of the weights and the roughnesses and everything like that, they all marry up, they're all the same, because then that means that when you put a light on this, the surface, it's exactly the same colour because you've done that in Photoshop, and the surface nature is the same roughness, it returns light in exactly the same way. As long as you do that, then the bit between one texture and the other one is absolutely seamless because all the rest of the settings are identical. So that's how you can do an animated mouth shape texture. You could do animated eyes, you could do animated sigils on his t-shirt, pictures, whatever. So you can do all sorts of stuff with it, but I just thought I'd let you know that that's a good way of being able to rig animated textures. There you go. See you in the next one.